Hi. I know you guys read the title. Assume this guy must be a psycho, must have no empathy, no feelings, or either his mom was a very terrible person and that's why he doesn't have any sadness towards what happened. But I have a totally different perspective on all that happened. So let me start off. Let me explain why I didn't get upset when my mom died, to be specific. Uh, when I was a kid, uh, the memories I remember from when I was a kid, like you remember specific events that happened when you were 6, 7, 8 years old. Okay, I can remember some events, but the amount of times that I spent with my mom that I remember from when I was a kid were not that much. I'm sure we did spend a lot of time together, but I can't remember that time because I wasn't as developed as I am right now. So when I grew up, I think around like 12 years old, 14 years old. The time I spent with my mom was very limited, and there wasn't any specific reason for that. It's just when growing up, I was a loner kid, to where like I prefer being alone, and not that I prefer being alone. I just kept to myself. I don't like uh, being extroverted, so that caused me, for example, when I'm at home, I would usually just stay in my room and not go out. Sometimes I go out with friends, but in general, if I'm not at home, I would stay in my room, and my mom would stay in her room, so I didn't see much of her. Usually, I would just maybe have 1 to 2 sentences of conversation, usually, and that's it. It's something that I look back on and do regret. But at the time, I didn't feel like there was anything bad about that. Okay, so when I look back at it, uh, I didn't spend much time talking to her, so I felt like I didn't have much of a connection to her. And when she got sick, I definitely was upset and shocked what happened. My brothers and sisters, sister and dad, sister and dad never told me about like what she had at the time. I eventually realized chemo. It was obvious what happened. So then, after her going through chemo, going to doctors, she spent a lot of time away, uh, getting treated. So I would spend months with just me and my dad alone at home. So I kind of got used to it just being me and my dad at home. So that caused me to, in essence, get used to my mom not being there at home usually. I feel like that's one of the reasons that kept me to where I am now. So, flash forward, when my mom died, the day of, I woke up, asked my dad, how was mom, all that. He then told me, he told me, get dressed and come see me. Okay, and I was like, nothing out of the usual. So I went to his room, which is my mom and dad's room. Uh, Checked, didn't see my mom there, didn't see my dad there. Then my dad walked in. I was like, "Where's mom?" And he's like, he took me in his arms and told me she died while crying. I in turn also cried. Looking back at it, I don't think I cried because my mom died, and not to say that in a psychopathic way. It just I felt like I cried because my dad was crying, because my dad was getting emotional. So in turn made me cry. Okay. The day that day I was pretty numb. I didn't know what to feel. I felt empty. We went to the funeral, procession, all that afterwards. And when everyone's telling me, "Don't worry, she's in a better place. She's resting now." Um, what else? You're now the man of the house. You have to stay strong. All the words you'd expect. So after that, I didn't feel upset my mom died. And I don't, I know it sounds bad to say I wasn't upset, but I felt the lack of connection that I had with her, caused by me not spending as much time. For example, my brother and sister, when my mom died, they were very emotional. And I can tell that they were very impacted. And it makes sense since they basically enjoyed and spent more time with her than I ever did. For example, at the time, my brother, I think, was 28 and my sister was 30. So they spent like 20 years of them being like not knowledgeable and like aware of what was happening. You know what I mean? I spent 5 years. That's six. Wait, I was 18. So that's if yeah, mm, 6 years of me being aware. I would say so, from 12. Uh, and me not having that much interactions with my mother as they did when they were kids, and having the last couple years her being away and me just being me with my dad, getting so I feel like having her away, getting treated when I was with my dad, in essence, help like I said, helped me get used to the fact that she's not there. And when she was actually not there anymore, it didn't feel out of place. It felt like she just went to get treated again, and that's why she's not here. So, and I felt like a terrible person for feeling that way. That I felt uh, that I felt I wasn't that upset. I obviously was like saddened by her not being there, but I wasn't upset. I don't know how to describe that. It just didn't hit me as deep as my brother and sister. And I always looked back at it and think that makes me a terrible person for not feeling the same way as they felt. So I don't know if this is my mind like trying to resolve, like, or try to explain away why I felt that way. But I also don't think what I felt was wrong. And in essence, I feel like everyone grieves in their own way. Um, but I still get impacted. For example, when my dad brings up my mom and tries to when he talks about her, I when that happens, I usually want him to stop. Like in my head, I don't tell him that because like he's grieving is in his own way, and I shouldn't interfere with that. But when he talks about her, I would want him to stop talking, and not in a bad way. Just it hits too much to me, to where like I don't want to hear about that anymore. When my brother and sister and all that talk about her, It's like I don't like talking about, and I think I don't know if it's just me that I don't like talking about like the bad things and just getting it over with. But when some scenarios, when he has talked to me about her, uh, for example, we had an argument, and and then he told me, "How could you do this after your mother just died?" And that hit me close to home, where I cried very hard. I was very emotional. I was sobbing on the phone, and I ended the call. Uh, Scenarios like that, for example, hit with me. And but at the time when she died, I didn't feel that way. Later on, uh, thinking about things, I do miss her. It's just I feel like I don't miss her as much as I should miss her. And I always think if that's me not being as good of a person. I know that I'm not explaining as best as possible, and I'm going on rants. I'm just trying to get my like emotions and thoughts out as clear as possible. So at the time, I always look back and think, me, I'm not a good person that I didn't felt like that at the time. And right now, through my life, I do miss her, and I do wish I had spent more time I had with her, because sometimes I do look back and get emotional about her not being here, but then I just feel like life goes on. And I do think the fact that she wasn't here for like a couple years and me just being with my dad got me used to the fact it's just me and him. And I feel like that caused me to be way more closer to my dad than I did with my mom. And to also iterate the fact that I usually spent more time with my dad even when she was alive. And no, not for any specific reason, but usually, for example, we would go out on Fridays, go to cinema, go out and have food. Uh, Sometimes my mom would come, sometimes my mom wouldn't. It wasn't because we didn't invite her. It's like she was just usually tired. I didn't want to go out that day, so she would just tell us you can go out and all that. And that was before she was sick, because she before that she had like um, uh, asthma problems. She also had back problems, so it wasn't as uh, she wasn't as energetic as she was when she was younger with my brother and sister. So we usually would go out, just like me and my dad usually, and I would spend more time with him in general, even though he would be out of the house most of the time for his work. Even though I still feel like I was closer to my dad. Um, And I do think, if my dad, I know it's bad to think this way, but if my dad had died instead of my mom, how would I have felt at the time? I feel like I would have been impacted more. I don't know if that's bad to say, uh, but I do feel I would have been impacted. You'd never know. I might have felt the same exact way that I feel now, and maybe it has nothing to do with who died. It's just how I feel and how my mind uh, thinks about these situations. Because I have like some would say uh, OCD, slight OCD. Some stuff I have to do in specific order, or like some stuff just hits harder with me than other things. And hmm, so that just made me think different about the situation. And I always felt I didn't want to tell anyone honestly, because I knew that if I had said it to anyone, and I feel like me explaining it now helps me confront the issue better than I would have previously. And I never explained it to anyone because I feel like explaining it just sounds bad, even though I understand everyone agrees in their own way. I just felt like I wasn't that good of a person. I know I've said that a lot, but just how I felt at the time. I know this video was very redundant, I feel like, but I feel like I explained myself in the best way possible I could have. I feel like it feels better, like getting it off my shoulders and just talking about it and explaining it and all that. So thank you for listening.